How the guys looked since you got back to work?
Good. I think anytime you can get away, we gave him the weekend. Herm decided to let him go home a little bit, and I think that's healthy. We tried to physically do enough to keep them, active. A lot of the younger guys, the developmental guys, got some really good work, kind of treated like a spring practice, so it was good to evaluate those guys. But anytime you can just get away, be with your family, just relax, then come back. And I thought their focus has been really good. And seeing them in the building on Monday, even though we didn't practice, but Tuesday and today's practice, they were pretty sharp.
Did you have to tell any of the guys, because I know you have some guys like Caden who's uber focused, and guys like Charles to, hey, relax a little bit during this break?
Well, I think everybody's a little bit different. Some of those high-strung guys, like a guy like Caden would be in there trying to figure out what he did wrong in the last 7 games. You know what I mean? But I think everybody has their own little routine, and I just think it's good to just get away. Just get away from the game, because when you come back, it really refreshed. You kind of have a new focus, a new energy, and that's what we saw on Tuesday.
Are there any areas that you guys pinpointed where you said you looked at and said, okay, we got to improve on here,
yeah.
Get better here?
Third down, we're starting to slide a little bit. I don't like the progression that we're going into. Our third down defense, at least in the last 3 or 4 years, has been around the 32 to 30% range, and we're starting to creep on up. So in this league, you can't afford. I mean, if you can get off the field in this league, you're going to be in really good shape. But if they keep you on the field, it's not going to be good. So a little bit of a slip in our tight red zone stuff too. So we really addressed that today and last week. It's a good thing for us too, because we can go back and we can really self-scout. Take a look at what we're doing good and what we're doing bad. And that way, it just kind of gives us, because sometimes you do that too late. So we had a chance to watch our cut-ups from those kind of situations and get some things cleaned up.
On third down, I know Tom mentioned on Monday some of the third and long stuff, and Baylor, I think, had some third and longs in that game. Is there anything you put your finger on with the third and longs as to why those breakdowns are happening?
Well, sometimes it's calls, sometimes it's, doing the same thing over where people scheme you up a little bit. So it's a collection of those things. It's not our kids. It's just one of those things that happens. We're getting a lot of look back too. A lot of teams are going up to the line of scrimmage and looking at us and trying to figure out what we're in and putting themselves in some, Baylor did that a couple times on us that end up hurting us. But, we got answers to that part. I just keep playing, and then we are going to add some more wrinkles to it. I think you get into this point of the season and you have a package and you're doing the same thing over and over again, you start to get, they start to put the scope on you a little bit. So we are going to do some things that are going to be different on third down.
Where does B.J. Foster rank in terms of, overall safeties, in terms of a blitzer, and even, as a freshman, someone as young as him?
Well, I don't know in terms of where he fits in terms of the guys that I've seen, but he's up there. I mean, you usually don't see 19-year-old kids do what him and Caden are doing right now. So as a blitzer, very dynamic. If we have a chance to blitz him, we're going to try to blitz him, because he's got really good vision. He has a way of contorting his body to get through blockers too. He saw that versus Oklahoma. He saw that versus Baylor. He just has really natural kind of wiggle to him. So is he going to be up there? I believe so. And I don't like to talk really high up on young guys, but the way that those two guys are developing, as long as they stay the course and they stay humble, which they are, and they keep working, they, like I said beforehand, they could be the ones that we're talking about, 10 years from now.
And that's going to be important moving forward, right? A lot of teams that are, more 10 personnel than you guys have been seeing.
Yeah. Down the stretch that we're talking about, that's where, this is going to be, Oklahoma State, and you're going into West Virginia, Texas Tech. You're looking at a whole stretch of teams that are very similar offense, high-octane spread teams, and to have somebody like him develop as fast as he's had, that we feel comfortable with playing him down, on every down is really unique. We're really, really fortunate to have that kid.
Coach, what can you say about potential discipline, from certain guys on your team?
I can't. That's a Herm deal. So you guys, you see Herm and you talk to him about it, and we'll just move forward.
What can you say about Oklahoma State's offense then?
Well, when you look at Hill and you think about the top backs in the league and you think about the top backs in the country, he's there. He's very hard to bring down. It starts with him. They get him rolling, and then it sets up the pass game. And then Wallace on the outside, Wallace is as good a receiver as there in this league. I'm telling you, we've counted only like one drop that we've seen him. I mean, balls that are like, you look at it and say, there's no way he's going to catch. He's got unbelievable hands. So, I mean, when you're looking at those two guys, a dynamic receiver that they can throw to and then stop a dynamic tailback, it's just, for whatever reason in terms of games and all that stuff, but if you watch them on film, they're moving the football. There's no doubt about it. They're moving the football. And then they'll have a couple plays here and there that kind of stall them out. But quarterback's doing a good job of getting the ball in receivers' hands, and then Hill is Hill. We got to stop him.
Todd, you mentioned, having to play more dime now when you're getting into these run of kind of air raid offenses. When you're playing more dime, how much, I guess, trust or I don't know, onus is there on your defensive line and linebackers to be really good against the run when you've got more bodies on the back end?
Yeah, it is, but I think that's kind of been our mindset around here. And I think if you asked any offense if they can turn around and hand a football off and get 7 or 8 yards, you're probably not going to see too many. Even the air raid teams will tell you that part. So I think you have to try to make people one-dimensional. You have to, because if they can do both and they can have complete balance, that's why I think Oklahoma, their offense is so hard to defend because they have unbelievable balance and they can hit you both ways. And that's, I think, everybody strives to do that. All we do, I know that. We try to be as 50-50 as possible. So you have to try to take something away to make guys a little bit more predictable. But it does from, kind of the people that don't get enough credit are the Menahus and the Hagers and Nelly and those guys that are up front eating up blocks to let the Garys and the Wheelers and the PJs run around and make plays there. So it really starts with those three.
How much does experience help, not just experience in this package, but Charles and Brecken? I mean, they've seen Oklahoma State. This will be their 4th time seeing these guys. Have seen these areas.
Yeah, that's the huge part of it because I've talked about this before, and I've not been at that stadium before, coached or played in it. But those guys already have. So that's a huge deal. They know what the environment's going to be like. They know how loud it's going to be. They know, it's going to be right off the bat. I mean, they're going to be throwing. I mean, it's going to be. So we got to be ready for it. And those guys, they know what this is going to be like. So it's really, really helps us. Same thing with Wheeler. Wheeler's the same way. He knows that those guys know exactly what we're getting into.
How's Jeff look being back at practice?
Good. He looks good, man. He's improving every day. Jeff is going to be a really good player for us. He's just the moments that that we're going to need him and call upon him. He's in some sub packages for us, but I expect him to continue to develop and be a really good player for us.
Do you think he's going to play Saturday?
He'll play. Yeah. He'll play at some point. Yeah.
Kind of going off that with the air raid offenses that you're going to face and playing more dime that pulls the B-backer off the field. How do you get Jeff more involved, or maybe Joe Sy?
We cross-train them. So those guys have been cross-trained inside. So, if depending on how they do in practice and then specialty packages, but right now with that position being that kind of that outside guy, both him and Joe are working themselves inside. So if they show to me that right now they're better than Wheeler, they're better than Gary Johnson, then they're going to get some more reps with it. But, Jeff is one shoelace broken, one chin strap down, one injury away from being in there. He's our 3rd best guy.
Which, for both those guys,
For
which
both spots.
which specific linebacker spot for both Jeff and Joe?
Right now we're playing Jeff at behind Wheeler's spot, and we're playing Joe's behind Gary's spot. That's how we're working them right now in practice. And then we're working, Deli and DeMarvian. We're kind of mix and matching all those guys around.
That was going to be my next question with DeMarvion.
Yeah.
Where are you working him right now? And do you have an idea of where his future might be?
Yeah, we're working him in Gary's spot right now because we have the flexibility of what we do with Gary of playing him off the ball, kind of in that joker look. And I think that's where he'll be until we figure out kind of what the shell game and where guys belong. So he's been cross-trained at Gary's spot, and he's also been cross-trained at the kind of the joker spot where BJ's playing right now. So that's kind of where his future is going to be, in those 2 spots.
Just any thoughts on him? Because I know we've seen him on kickoff team look fast and physical. Just any thoughts on him coming back from the injury and what you see?
Yeah, he's still a little bit, I think what we saw kind of pre-injury was a little bit twitchier and a little bit faster. But I think slowly as this thing and, the weeks come on in terms of all the rehab he's done, he's starting to look like that guy that we saw before the injury. So he's getting closer.
What areas would you kind of like to tighten up over the next 5 games?
Well, I think it's third down. I mean, to me, that's in this league with the offenses that we're going to see and extended drives, and eventually, you know, you're going to get them in a third down situation. And you asked any offense if they can keep you on the field, especially going really, really fast, you're at a huge disadvantage. So I think this league has become a third down league and get turnover leagues. So if you can cut down and reduce possessions, and then on the other side set your offense up to continue possessions, because that's been really, if you look at us in the last 3 or 4 games, I don't think there's been enough credit given to our offense about how much time they possess the football. And they've been doing it by converting third down. So it's a huge part of this league.
It seems like week by week the pass rush is making gradual improvements, especially after I think the first game or two without a sack. What seems to be, I guess, the driving force behind those guys, being able to get pressure?
Yeah, I think it's I think it starts with Charles. Charles has done a really good job. We blitzed some guys that I think are better to get into the quarterback than probably we did necessarily, where it was more scheme. We're starting to hone in on some guys that are really good at it. So I think calling those things to try to help guys out and calling it with the right, with the intent of saying, like, let's try to get Charles set up. We're still working on Brecken. Brecken, he has it in him. There's just some times where it's just, he's frustrated. You can tell out in the field. But he's really, really close. And in my opinion, he's going to break out at some point here. So we've got 2 really good ends. We've got, and when we get especially to third down or obvious passing situations, make sure we set those guys up.
Todd, real quick, any of those developmental guys stand out to you when you got to take a closer look at them last week?
I think what we did was, it's really not the developmental guys for us were like the Joe Asais and the DeMarvians and the Delis. So really what it was seeing those guys once again and saying to ourselves, like, do we like where they're at in comparison to when they first got here? Are they mature enough to handle this package? Are they still asking questions? So those are really, like, nobody out, I can't sit here and give you a name like, oh, wait till you see this guy, next spring. It was those guys that we targeted, those type of guys.
Good. You would provide any updates on, Sam, how he's been looking, throwing and everything?
He continues to practice and doing well. And, we'll just kind of see how things progress through the rest of the week. And Coach and I will visit. And I think Coach will have more information for you guys tomorrow, I think.
Has he been able to practice with the ones this week?
Oh, yeah.
Coach, the other day, Colin Johnson mentioned that he seems to be, and I think you could see it out there, he's playing maybe with a little bit more fire, a little more anger compared to, last year. Is that a change that, you've seen him make week by week? Or
in Colin?
From last year? In Colin, yes.
Yeah, I think so. Again, I haven't done this a long time. I always kind of resort back to he can focus a little bit more on his individual game and mentally and emotionally, as opposed to, okay, what route do I have on this, or what route on this? When guys learn a system for the first time, and you could do a lot more of the whys and the hows instead of the whats. And so I've seen that in him, and he's done a tremendous job, as you notice, on the 50-50 balls and fighting for field or body position, I should say, or body control, going up and getting the ball. Those are all things I know coaches Maringer and Coach Meekins have worked with him on, and he himself has, vowed that was an area he felt like he wanted to work and get better at, and he did, and he has, and it's allowed him to make the plays that he's made too.
Does it seem like now he understands maybe more how to use the physical gifts that he has? And
even look at him running after the catch. He's been much more effective this year of catching the balls, either staying on his feet or turning upfield, making a guy miss, running a guy over. It's been impressive to see the growth and then the production because of it.
Is that strength, or is that the better understanding that's allowing him to break those tackles?
It's all of it. Our strength program, as we've alluded to in the past, is tremendous, and Coach McKnight and his staff and what they do, but it allows him to do that. But also, again, he can play faster.
There's a play, the first down from the Baylor 22 in the third quarter, where ran looked like a package play, and Andrew and LJ going up the seam, and Shane threw it a little fast maybe, and Andrew hadn't turned around. Was that on Andrew, or was that on Shane throwing a little bit faster?
It was a little bit everything. There was a miscommunication in the line protection. We were supposed to pull, and there was a communication based on the front who was pulling, the center or the guard, and we got neither initially, so the defensive end was free. Eventually, somebody kind of realized, uh-oh, someone needs to pull, and did. But I think it spooked Shane a little bit on that play, which caused him to have to hurry that throw.
Zach said yesterday that, Oklahoma State's able to kind of throw a lot of exotic and different looks, which is maybe leading to why they've been so successful at getting at the quarterback. What have you seen from their pass rush on
Yeah, exactly that. He does a great job using 94. I mean, he moves them around different places, which he tries to get them singled up in either on a lineman or on a back, and which isn't a good matchup at all. If he's going against a running back, and they've created some exotic pressures in their third down situations. So they've done a good job of scheming and game planning. We expect something different because each game they have a little twist to something. So it's hard to prepare for everything, but we try to fall back on our rules of what we need to do in terms of our pass protection, and be able to figure them out, through as the game goes.
With them having such success getting after the quarterback, how is Keontae at this point in pass protection?
Yeah, he's good. I think him, Trey, I feel good with those guys back there. I don't, again, if they're matched up on 94, that's going to be a dogfight. But he's done a nice, they're 94's done a good job on everybody, every back in the league. But I feel good about that. So our guys will stick their face in there and work hard for sure.
What about Devin Duvernay? He's kind of your designated shot guy on post routes. Is he not taking the right angle, like out of his break on those, or the quarterback's just missing him? But there's something's going on there where they're not connecting.
Yeah, I think the K-State was just a bad ball by Sam. I think the angle. It's kind of weird, our quarterback sees the big picture, right? So he can see the backside safety or backside corner. How far do I need to throw him across the field? How far I don't. The receiver that's running the route on the guy on top of him. All he knows is I'm going to win inside. So the quarterback's trying to put the ball in the green grass to allow the receiver to go get it. Sometimes if a backside safety's hanging there, the angle has to be a lot higher and straighter. I know, but if the receiver's got to get inside and the guy's flattening him off, it's going to be a flatter angle. So it makes it a harder throw sometimes. And it's hard to tell that because it's such a deep ball. It doesn't happen at the line of scrimmage. It happens down the field. And you can't hold it forever or you get sacked. So you have to kind of anticipate that throw sometimes. And that's why they're called shot plays. I mean, sometimes you hit them, sometimes you don't. But, we keep working on those areas. I think we're probably a little better throwing the verticals, the seams, the goes, because of the angle. Because I think our quarterbacks are extremely accurate on deep balls, and our guys have done a nice job going up and getting them. But that's an area we continue to try to work.
Is there an element as well of maybe the wide receiver getting a pre-snap read so he can maybe anticipate some of those guys that he can't really look for once he's getting into his route?
Yeah, they do, but it's hard to see the back. If you're the number one outside receiver, it's hard to see the backside safety to know, is he going to rotate back or is he going to suck down on the run fake, or you know what I mean? So it's hard for that guy to tell, and you tell him to win inside at all costs, because if he wins outside, the ball's going to be intercepted. So, and the quarterback, it's hard to tell because he's not looking at the corner. He's trying to hold the safety and to find the green grass, and he's just, hey, he's going to win, and I'm going to put it up there and let him go get it.
When you and Shane, obviously watched the film, what did you like from what you saw against Baylor, and what were some of the areas that you wanted some more improvement in?
I thought Shane did a nice job coming in. He hit some big plays for us when we needed them. Some crucial third down plays. He hit Colin when we needed it on the go route, and took advantage. They didn't give us many opportunities to throw the ball down the field, a lot of double coverage. So when we got that, he took advantage of it, and that's key in our offense right now. A lot of teams are trying to take those guys away from us by doubling them. So when we get those opportunities, we got to hit them, and he did. He missed a couple protection calls. It could have helped a little bit. I think he played a little bit. I told him this. I kept telling him on the headset, hey, cut it loose. We had some relief game. He started doing it at the end of the game. we kind of had that throughout the game. I think he was playing cautious. You've always heard it, playing to not lose as opposed to playing to win. And, he needed to just cut it loose and throw the ball out there. And he started doing it some in the second half there. And I know the second to last drive or whatever, we went right down the field doing that stuff. He needs to do that. He's good at doing that. That part I would have liked to see him do a little bit more.
Presuming he has gotten to practice with the ones this week, how has he looked? Can actually go with those guys?
Who?
Shane.
Yeah, he's done a good job. I mean, he has. I always try to keep, you never know. Those guys are always a play away, so I always sneak him in there for some.
And I think Coach had said that Rising was going to get some second-team reps. How does he look as far as in that role?
Yeah, he's done a nice job. All those guys are engaged. I hold them all accountable, test them all week, ask them. They're always engaged. When I meet with them, it's just not Sam. It's Cameron. What's the coverage when you get this front? What do you expect here on third down? They're all engaged. They all need to be involved in it and involved in the game. It's one thing Shane's done incredible during the course of games is see things and help Sam. They're not covering the bubble, coach. They're not, hey, we have the relief, or they did this, or I saw the safety rotate, or he helps Sam a lot. So those guys are engaged. They understand the game plan. I hold them accountable to it. So when they go in, it's just a matter of executing the reps. It's rare that they don't know what to do. So most of the time they do a nice job in there.
What do you like about Cameron in terms of his skill set from what you're seeing in practice?
He's got good leadership to him. He's got a really live arm, and I think he does have a good football instincts.
Tim, during the bye week, when you get a chance to look at some of the young linemen who haven't played, the young receivers, what are you looking for when you get a chance to kind of put those guys under the microscope? And did any of those younger guys stand out to you?
I think for all of us, the biggest thing is watching them compete. We realize Casey Thompson, for example, is down there running the scout team, right? He doesn't get a lot of reps up with us. To think that he's going to go out there and execute at a really high level, I don't. Now, I expect him and hold him to that, but there are going to be some mistakes. But is he making them fast? Is he playing hard? And I think across the board, that's what we look for. Our guys being physical, offensively, we coming off the ball, we blocking people, we running hard, we got good ball security, the culture of our program, right? So we look for those things in bye week much more than anything else. And yeah, there were guys here and there, and again, probably each coach could answer a little bit more about it that did some nice things, but it's a fine mix of keeping your guys oiled up, because when you got a good rhythm going, you got to keep them that way, and then getting those guys some reps in there.
With a guy like Malcolm Epps, when we saw him during camp, he was working X receiver. Is he still there, and kind of where do you see him in terms of the future of this offense?
He does. He's still working the X position for us right now, and he could be a good one. I mean, he does a nice job. I don't know where he'll be in the future. I just know right now he's there and he's doing a nice job for us.
Okay. Tom said that the game plan's not going to change much regardless of Sam or Shane playing. But even if Sam goes, he's probably going to be a little bit limited in terms of maybe what he would do as a running the running game typically. So would that prompt you maybe to feed Trey and Keontae a little bit more than you might otherwise?
We'll talk more about that, Coach and I. My philosophy is if he's not ready to go, he won't play. If he's ready to go, he'll play, and which means it's our game plan. And like I said, we'll continue to watch development. Coach and I will visit probably tomorrow, Friday, and Coach can update you guys what his thoughts are.